In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a front strut on your Toyota Camry. Let's get started. Using a 21mm socket, remove the lug nuts. And remove the wheel. Using a 30mm axle nut socket, we're going to remove the axle nut. Make sure that the axle moves freely inside of the hub. If it doesn't, go ahead and hit it with a soft-faced hammer. I'm going to thread on one lug nut to hold the rotor. Using a 12mm socket, remove the bolt for the brake line bracket. Pull the lines out of the bracket. Using a 10mm socket, remove the bolt for the ABS bracket. Pull the bracket off. Remove the plastic bracket for the ABS wire. Use an 18mm wrench to hold the stud, and use an 18mm socket to remove the nut. Remove the sway bar length nut, and pull the sway bar out of the bracket. Using a 22mm wrench, we're going to hold the head of the bolt while we use a 22mm socket to remove the nut. Do the same thing on the bottom one. Remove the bolts. And pull the knuckle out of the strut. When you pull it forward, make sure there's no pressure on this hose. You don't want it getting pulled on, stretching, anything like that. Also with the ABS wire, try and make it as loose as possible. Make sure the axle is pushed up back. You don't want it to separate inside of the boot. Using a 14mm socket, remove the 3 nuts on the top of the strut. We're not going to fully take this last one off, we just want to spin it out mostly. Just like that. That'll allow the strut to just hang there. Reach into the wheel well, push up on the strut, and thread off the last nut. Remove the strut. Remove the new nuts off the new strut. Install it into the vehicle. Line these studs up with the holes in the strut tower. Install the nuts. Snug the nuts down using a 15mm socket. Install the bolts through the knuckle. Install the bottom bolt first. It'll make this top one much easier. Put one hand on the top of the rotor, push straight back, and install the bolt. Hold the head of the bolt, snug down the nut. Torque the bottom strut bolts to 155 foot-pounds. Make sure you're holding the head of the bolt while you do this. Install the plastic ABS bracket onto the strut. There's 2 holes on either side that it'll drop into. Install the ABS bracket and the brake line bracket. The ABS bracket will go under the brake line. Install the bolt and snug it down. Install the sway bar link into the strut. Install the nut. Hold the stud with a wrench. Snug the bolt down. Torque the sway bar link nut to 55 foot-pounds. Install the bolt for the ABS wire bracket. Snug it down. Install the axle nut. Make sure that the splines are lined up with the axle and the hub. Make sure it pushes through the hub and is sitting properly. Snug down the axle nut. Remove the lug nut. Using a large pry bar, we're going to hold the hub while we torque the axle nut to 217 foot-pounds. Using a hammer and a punch, stake the axle nut. Install the wheel and get the lug nut started. Snug down the lug nuts. And we'll torque the wheel on the ground. Torque the lug nuts in a star pattern to 76 foot-pounds. Torque the top strut nuts to 63 foot-pounds. Once you're done with this job, take your car to a local shop and have them do an alignment.
When When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.